All right, so for this tutorial, basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how to make a painting using a photograph as an underlying layer. So for those of you who do not feel as comfortable with your traditional drawing skills or painting skills, this might be a good option for you. But what I will say is this: I don't want it to look exactly like the photo that you're using. Okay, so it's used as a reference. You're going to use it as to sample colors, but I don't want that photo to actually be part of your final the final thing you hand in. Okay, so to do this, what you need to do is open up a picture first, which I already have done. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that as my background layer. I'm going to make a new layer right here. Oops, not two of them, just one's good enough. Okay, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to switch to the mixer brush tool. Okay, just because it's more of a traditional style brush, and it's really good because it'll allow me to sample this underneath, and it'll give you kind of a good look. So I'm going to use the mixer brush. Then up here, I decided to use this brush here. These ones mimic real world brushes, but just to give you an idea, one of the problems I have with this, depending on the size of your image, you can see this is 300 pixels. You're going to see, like, watch this. It's really slow. Like, I see how it's, so I'm not going to use that one. Some of these are just, I would just try sampling a bunch of them and find one that you find. I'm just going to go back to that one that was working for you. So I found that the brush tip, this alpha, worked best for me. So I'm going to leave that there. The thing here, I'm going to have this be, we're going to say wet, and we'll do heavy mix somewhere in the middle. Take my load and actually go up a little bit on it. And I'm going to make sure that this is checked on, sample all layers. And then if I press this makes it pressure sensitive, which means the diameter will actually change sizes. So I'm going to turn that on too. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting. So it's a really quick and easy process. So I'm going to just kind of zoom in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on this chunk here and use my brackets to make the brush bigger and smaller. If I hold Alt, you'll see it turns to like a target symbol. This is actually like the eyedropper tool. And this will become, you'll see it'll pop up here, what I sample. Okay, so I'm going to click here, and you see how it shows up here. Now what that means is that it's sampling this down here in order for from what my paint comes into. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw some strokes. And you can see it's even kind of slow here. All right. And it's going to be kind of slow, but the bigger the brush, the slower your the response rate of the painting will be. So just be aware of that. So I'm going to sample this and make my brush a bit smaller. Okay, I'm just trying to get it to sort of work here. We'll sample this little bit here. I'm going to make my brush smaller again, and I'm just going to kind of brush down. Good. We'll make this a little bit bigger. I'm going to sample this. Okay. And I'm going to sample this part here. I'm just going to kind of brush that in. I'm going to sample here. I'm just holding Alt to sample each time. Okay. And you can see there's a little something here. Good. All right. And then I'm going to sample here. I'm just going to try and work on this blue here first. Make my brush a bit bigger. You're going to see it's going to make it considerably slower, but it is kind of a large area. I'm just going to ignore that, whatever that is. Some sort of shrimp or something. Alright, keep going. Good. Alright, so I'm just kind of generically painting this. Okay. Alright. Good. Alright. Now, when I'm looking at this, it looks a little bit different. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit Command plus, hold spacebar to pan. And I'm just going to try and paint this as best I can. So I'll sample this. I'm going to make my brush a bit smaller. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and use a different style brush. Something a little more like this. Okay, got a little bit bigger. And let's try sampling this. Alright, so I'm going to take my wetness down a touch so it doesn't mix quite so much with what's underneath there, so it's a little more what I wanted. All right, I'm not real super happy with that brush, so let's try something. Maybe we'll try one of these traditional ones here, kind of a flat brush. Let's see. See, that might be okay. Yeah, I'll just use this for now. All right, I'm just trying to do the lighter colors, and I'm just going to kind of make them stroke in the direction. Sample this. That in the same direction as the thing underneath. Okay, I'm going to sample some of these darker ones. I'm just going to try and sketch around to get this in here. Take this. Okay. Like that. And we'll just go like that. Okay. And we'll sample. And I'm going to sample. Alright. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go something like that. I'm going to try using a different style brush. Maybe try this one, see what this gives me. You might need to try a couple of brushes in order to get what you want. So this one seems to be mixing these a little bit better because I felt like they're a little bit sharp. So I'm just going to kind of try and mix that a little there. Alright. This is not usually the way that I would paint, but for some of you I think this would probably work best. So alright. I'm going to go ahead and just manually choose a color because I just want something that's a little bit lighter and greener. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and load the brush. Okay. Alright. And then if you look at these, this will be loading and unloading. So this one, I always forget, I got to hover over it. This one loads the brush each time, and this one will clean the brush each time. So I'm going to go ahead and click both of those. And that way when I stroke, it will add that color. Let's try to go a little bit lighter. Okay. Okay. Alright. Okay. Alright. Turn those back off. Alright. So I'm going to kind of do this little piece here, and I'm just going to look for something I think kind of works. We'll try this one. And I'm going to make my brush much bigger. Okay. And I'll hold Alt to sample. And I'm just kind of tapping to try and get this to be the kind of color I want. Okay. Change the brush stroke, sample this. Okay. Oh, sorry, Command minus minus. And we'll just kind of let's see if this. All right. Yeah, brush isn't really much better. All right. So let's try some more here. Let's try a round brush. Okay. Oh, it's that side. All right. Okay. All right, so then I'm just gonna kind of sample some of this. All right. All right, and then what I'm gonna do is Alt and sample that color, and kind of brush this across. All right, so you can see some of it's a little bit slow. All right, so I'm going to try doing the fish in here. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to sample. We'll do the white first. Just oops. Okay, this brush is not quite doing it for me. It's a little. We'll try 39. It's a little not as accurate. So let's do this. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of this. Okay. And then I'm just holding Alt and trying to sample the thing underneath. All right. So you can see this is what, just to give you an idea. So when you're done, you should be able to turn off the background and have your painting. Okay. This is what it should look like, but obviously complete. All right. Because I'm using this underneath to sample, but this is my actual painting. All right. That's basically what you're looking for. Okay. So you're just going to hold Alt to sample underneath and then use these brushes and paint on top, and you should get like a kind of interesting whirly look. You might have gaps in here. So what I would suggest doing for that, such as you see, is after turn off that layer, and then I'm just going to switch to the regular brush tool. And I will choose a brush. We'll just choose this one. And I will just hold Alt, which turns into that eyedropper. And I'll just grab a color similar. And I'll just manually brush in and Alt. And then you can kind of fix some of those areas in there. All right, so I might take my flow down a whole bunch and my opacity too, just because that's like the strength of it. That way it'll take my opacity back up. I'll keep the flow low, but all right, so all right, so and then you might want to manually start making some adjustments yourself. Okay. So I might be like, okay, I want this to have more of a highlight. So what I might do is hold Alt, sample this, then click on the color over here after it's been sampled. Just pull this up a little bit, touch, make it a little bit warmer, like that. Okay, and then change my brush to something more like this. Okay, and then what I'll do is I will maybe kind of, manually add some edges on here, to kind of give it some highlights. Okay, something like that. All right, so that's more or less what you want to do. So you can use a painting underneath and then just manually paint over top of it afterwards. There you go.